Blue Lock! Chapter 306 of Blue Lock has dropped, and it's another Nagi chapter, but he might be saved, but he also might be doomed. This chapter was a really good chapter where once again we see Nagi going through the motions where his life is kind of just nothing because he's missing Blue Lock. He's seeing everyone else around him having fun, playing football, doing whatever they do, and he's kind of just alone. Now, if you saw the TikTok review that I dropped, please excuse me for laughing the way I did.
This nigga is knocking on the door! Man, we don't accept you here!
But like, just seeing Nagi be so desperate, I couldn't help it. But if I'm being real, this shit is really sad, bro. After school finishes, Nagi takes his bike and he rides all the way to the Blue Lock facility. And I was sitting here like, bro, what are you doing? Where are you going? And then Nagi knocks on the door and he says, excuse me, please let me in. I'm like, damn, man! Like, Nagi's definitely like not one of my favorite characters, but like, it's just something about seeing someone be so desperate that kind of just hits, you know? He says, please just give me one more chance to fight again in Blue Lock. He's willing to do whatever it takes. He doesn't want to live his life with these regrets. Nagi doesn't get a response and he says he'll come again later. And we then see Nagi pull up the next day and he's got like a camping bag on his back. And Nagi literally sets up a camp outside Blue Lock, and we see him spending multiple days and nights outside the facility just for that small sliver of hope that someone will open the door and let him in so he can fight for his place in Blue Lock again. While camping outside, Nagi then decides maybe I should contact someone in Blue Lock. Isagi would be the easiest for me to talk to, and maybe Burū would even hear me out. But obviously the one person that I can still rely on is Ryo.
And yo,
Ryo has blocked Nagi. He has blocked that number. You can't message here anymore. Whether this is of the instruction of Ego or whether this is Ryo moving forward in his life, I did not expect to see you cannot send messages to this account. Like, wow. Like, I know the Nagi Ryo community is in shambles. And then once he sees that he's blocked, he finally gets a response from that security camera, and it's Anri. She's saying, yo, this is private property. You need to get the fuck out of here. If you stay here any longer, you're gonna be trespassing and I'll call the police. Like, Anri, like, I understand, but damn, you scouted him. Like, come, he's still a kid at the end of it. Nagi's what, 17? I don't know how old Nagi is, but he's a kid. And if to add salt in the wounds, she said, you are an outsider. You are no longer connected to Blue Lock. Like, am I the only one that thinks Anri did not have to say all that? And then we get a panel of Nagi looking deadpan where he says, yeah, I guess so. And then as that happens, it starts raining to obviously signify Nagi's despair. He's thinking about, what the hell am I even doing here? This is pathetic, and I was going to rely on Ryo once again. And then Nagi's ego takes over. He says, I understand all of this, but I don't want to understand. He says, I'm the only one who is left behind. I'm the only one who doesn't change. And he's pounding on the Blue Lock door to the point that his knuckles are bleeding. And then in the final panel of this chapter, we see this fucking money-hungry Tanuki here to swipe himself a nice deal, with quite frankly a very evil grin on his face saying, hello genius. Now, he could be Nagi's salvation, or he could end up corrupting him. Because we already know about this guy. He doesn't actually love football or care about it or even watch the Neo Egoist League. He cares about the profit, he cares about products, sales, merchandise, and everything else. Now, this may be a path for Nagi returning into the story, but it won't be the same Nagi that we know. He may end up getting fired up somehow, But I feel like he's gonna lose a part of his soul dealing with people like this. He is literally swooped in like a vulture at Nagi's lowest point, here to be the savior that he needs. And Nagi at this point in the story will quite literally hold on to any chance he gets to be able to fight for his spot again. And he may not even end up looking at the actual negative effects of this choice. When I made my review on TikTok, one of the commenters said this in the comments. They said Nagi is about to be used for profit and profit alone. He's going to be manipulated, and this is not the win that you Nagi fans really think it is. I am really interested in what this solution brings, because I still can't see Nagi coming back through the actual Blue Lock program. But let's not forget, Nagi still has his 24 million yen value. He still has an offer. We don't know what team that's from, but he still has an offer. So Nagi can play football professionally. But with this guy in his corner, he might lose his love for the game forever, bro. But with these situations, there's always a flip side, because Nagi could also come back stronger than ever, because the author also confirmed to us he's the other protagonist of the story. So I can't see Nagi having this eternal downfall where he's broken, battered, and he just loses. I can't see it. He's quite frankly too important to the story for that to ever happen. But like, I'm so glad that Kaneshiro is going into Nagi's character like this, because to me, Nagi was always that kind of cool guy that has a really interesting playstyle, but when it comes to his actual character, he wasn't that interesting. Characters like Burū, Isagi, Ryo, Kaiser, Rin, they were all way more interesting. So I'm so happy that he's following the theme of characters being broken down to rebuild themselves, and I'm excited to see where Nagi goes from here. And also, quite frankly, if Nagi does come back and is reintroduced to the story, I will be more happy than not. And I say this because one of the things that like frustrates me about Blue Lock is the lack of good rivalries that we have that does not include Isagi. And that's not me saying I have any problems with Isagi, but like Nagi and Burū is one of my favorite rivalries in the story, and it doesn't have to include Isagi. It can be overall about Isagi, but them two clashing is just so refreshing when we have Isagi Burū, Isagi Rin, Isagi Kaiser. It does not need to be everything Isagi centered. And with Nagi being out the story, Burū's only rival would be Isagi. And you know, I'm the Burū guy. You see the Uber's jersey, this is Burū on the back. And I also want to really emphasize this. Please, Kaneshiro, please do not have Nagi go the Kunigami route. I do not need Nagi to be whatever the fuck we've turned Kunigami into, because I really liked Kunigami, and I have not been a big fan of Kunigami in the Neo Egoist League. Now I see the potential for his character moving forward with his ego and fire still not being dead, but like, I don't want to have to go through that period with Nagi for years before I finally get that peak moment, because in the Neo Egoist League, I don't really think we got that peak moment with Kunigami. And the Neo Egoist League lasted for almost 4 years in real time. With so many things happening right now, all the players going through their different trainings. We see my boy Burū going through his American football training. I don't even know what they're about to turn him into, but we see everyone's going to be going through these transformations, and it's looking like Nagi's not going to be left out of that. Is he going to play in the Under-20s World Cup? I don't see how that's possible, and if he doesn't play, we're not going to see him for years. And if he does find a way to play, is he from another country? Like, how do we get Nagi in this manga for without missing him for years? How do we get this, Kaneshiro? Tell me, please. Overall, I think Blue Lock chapter 306 was a really strong chapter. This same character focus that we're getting on people like Nagi, I want us to get some character focus on Shido. He has been around for so long without actually being that important to the story or being that good as an actual character. I hope we get to dig into his origins, we see the way he is and why he is that way. Please, like, give me a reason for him being in the way of my Burū agenda. But that's me. Let me know what you guys think about this chapter in the comments. New videos coming soon, but that's been your boy Crocodile. Peace.